Well, Tiffany, I am so excited to have you on the podcast today. I feel like this has been a long time coming, right? Like
Absolutely.
we
I
have
think like
known,
10 years we've known each other.
yeah, well, no more than that. Okay, so you guys, I'm
Really?
going to start off with a little intro for Tiffany, because we'll just start talking, and then I'll be like, oh wait, everyone listening has no idea what we're talking about. So Tiffany did my hair and makeup for way back when I did DVDs. I say way back, it sounds like a lifetime ago. Like honestly, right? Like it seems like it's been so long. So my youngest is 10 and a half. Tiffany, I was
Oh my
pregnant with
gosh.
her when we filmed the first DVD series, and you were my makeup
Yes.
artist. And you were
That
on
is so,
everything since then until I just
oh
was
my,
like, you know what? I do my own makeup and hair now, but I loved
yeah.
getting to work with you. Plus, I don't live near you either, so that's impossible.
Yes, you moved away from me out of Orange County. Oh my gosh, you were pregnant with your baby that is now 10 and a half years old.
Yeah, I know it's crazy. Life goes so fast. Okay, so Tiffany and I want to talk today about burnout. And I know her and I really, can go down rabbit holes talking about entrepreneurship and business. But I was like, Tiffany, let's talk about, I know you had some health struggles. I know
Mhm.
you've experienced some, on the wellness side of life and learning how to balance maybe is not the right word, right? There's really no such thing
Mhm.
as balance, but navigating is maybe a better word. Life as an entrepreneur and dealing with some health struggles along the way. And like I told you before we got on, I feel like I have so many women in my audience that feel like they are dealing with an autoimmune thing or this thing or that thing or just a slew of symptoms or whatever it might be, and they feel like they're the only one, or they feel like maybe that they just have to, this is it, like they just have to suffer. And I always want to share a message with women like, just you don't, number one. And so I
No.
love sharing other people's stories, so I want you to start there. Just share a little bit about, you can share a little background of who you
Mhm.
are, of course, but then let's go into kind of when you experienced your health struggle and what that was for you.
Wow. So going back super quickly, when I first met you, I was going to the gym all the time. And we probably met each other because we had mutual fitness friends. And then also I was doing makeup and styling. And I worked on a lot of Beachbody videos and some really prominent trainers with them. So people really knew me not just for makeup with the fashion side or all of the bad reality shows that I have worked on, but I became friends with so many people in the fitness and wellness space because they're like, oh, she makes you look great without looking overdone. And if I'm doing really sweaty workouts, it's not dripping off my face. And so I worked with a lot of people, and I think that's how our paths first crossed. That was my passion. That was the thing that I had thought was my dream life. And I worked on film and television and fashion, like 9 seasons of Fashion Week and photo shoots and countless amazing red carpets. And about 18 years in, 18 years of schlepping wardrobe and my kit. You always saw me like carrying my makeup kit and my makeup chair. I think I even worked with you once after I had major knee surgery and I was on
Mm,
crutches.
I think
I mean,
so.
it's really, there's a lot that goes on to your body and it's physical and they're really long days as well. So even though I loved it and I thought this was my dream passion, it really led to a physical as well as a mental burnout and close to a breakdown, but not there. Luckily, I caught myself before that, but I had so many signs. So, as I was getting older and I was in my late 30s, I was going harder with my workouts. And at the time, about age 38 ish, now I look back and I go, oh, it's when early perimenopause started to creep in. And so my hormones are all over the place. I'm barely sleeping because I work 12 to 15-hour days on set. And I live in South Orange County, commuting up to LA and just driving and being in the car. That does a whole lot of things to your body and just your mindset and mentality. So all that's happening. And I didn't know what the heck was happening. I just said, I just have to work harder. I'm getting older. That means I have to do longer workouts and let's do just crazier jumping, hard things. And this is what I have to do. So I was doing all the wrong things. And you have to remember, now I'm almost 48. So that was 10 years ago. And we know more, not nearly
Yes.
enough for accounting for more than half the population of the world is going to experience this. And we just keep telling each other, this is normal, deal with it. Women have been and we shouldn't have to just deal with it. There's
Yeah.
so much. So
We should not.
10 years ago, I didn't know what the heck's going on, and everything in my mindset, my thinking, my mental health, my physical health, I was someone who loved to, I had that mentality of like, go hard or go home. And I was like, I'm not going home. So I'm just going to go hard in every area of my life. And I hit a wall. I hit a wall right before my 40th birthday, which wasn't good timing because at that time, it's like that saying that God gives you tons of all of these little tiny whispers and kind of taps you on the shoulder, and the universe is saying, pay attention to these subtle signs. Well, I wasn't one to pay attention to the subtle signs, like always having stomach aches or waking up with a bloated belly when normally you wake up and you're like, oh, this is the time of the day where my abs are flat and all of those things in. So I unknowingly compounded all of the health issues, which then turned into full-blown autoimmune. Oh, it seemed like it happened overnight, but it's because I didn't listen to those little clues and those little hints until literally God in the universe grabbed me by my shoulders, shook me awake. And as I was driving to LA on one of the worst, stormiest, record-breaking storming days, I haven't seen a day like that before. I'm driving to LA to go work the red carpet for, I think it was, which show is it? I forget now. Sometimes brain fog still happens. People's Choice Awards. And I had a
I was like, you're
panic
going to ask
attack.
me, Tiffany? I'm the wrong person to
I
ask.
forget. Literally had a panic attack for the first time in my life. I don't think I've ever shared this story. I had a panic attack in my car in LA version of torrential rain. It was pretty horrific. Like literally, I'm not even exaggerating. And about 3/4 of the way there, people in LA, we don't know how to drive when it's raining. So imagine the freeways were worse than they already are on what is already a crazy commute. And I had a full blown level 10 panic attack, and I thought I was dying. I didn't know it was a panic attack. And it turned out it was my thyroid and so many things. It wasn't just one thing, but it's like, because my adrenals were so whacked out, you can't start to repair your thyroid until you address that. And then my hormones were all over the place and I was exhausted and I was pushing through. This is where my all or nothing mentality absolutely hurt me. That, the things that you think make people successful with their health goals or their life goals or their business goals actually completely hurt me, because that's what made me sick. That's what created and compounded all of these problems that I uncovered. It took years to even figure out what the heck was going on. But that was the wake up call. And I wish I could say that I listened, and I didn't fully. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to be 40 in a few months. This means I just need to work out harder. I need to clean up my diet. Let's eat even less and eliminate everything and do all the things and see what happens, without ever understanding where the core of the problem was. I had no idea. And so I went on this journey of trying to fix myself, all these things that I thought was so broken. And what it was really, when it came down to it, I just needed to create more white space and rest and understand that I'm a worthy, full human being, whether I get to do the type of work that I want to do with amazing clients like you, or start saying no and create boundaries. And it was so many different things that added to this. And I was that people pleaser. I got paid well to do my job well and to bend over backwards for clients. And to a huge extent, that also killed me and parts of me in the process.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I haven't heard some of those pieces you just shared. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate you for sharing all of that, because what you just said, I think is such, maybe in some details are a little different, but I think it's so common. We push and push and push ourselves until we physically can't continue to do our job the right way we want to do, or there's something really, off in our health, or whatever it might be. And then it's like that. Why does it take that to be our wake up call? Right? Like
Right.
it's about that. I don't know.
And I think that's why your show is so important, because I never thought anybody else felt the way that I did. Like, why am I so tired? Even though I got, a decent amount of sleep when I got it, and I was still tired. You wake up and you're like, dang it, I'm still tired. Didn't I just sleep 7 hours or 8 hours? Now I prioritize sleep. But a lot of it too was the conditioning growing up. It's the whole, sleep when you die. And it's the most valuable thing that you can do is to get great quality sleep. So now I track all of that, but that journey to realize what I was doing, because I wanted to help people, because I wanted to create this dream life. And I've always I am unemployable. I cannot work for anybody else. I've known that since I was 15 years old. I've always been a serial entrepreneur, and it's extra difficult when you actually love what you do to create those boundaries and prioritize your spirituality, your mental health, your physical health, your family, the things that we say are our priorities. So a lot of it came down to that wake up call and being forced. It was a good thing. It was being forced to slow down so that I can speed up later, but with the things that are aligned to me that I truly love. And then about modifying my life so that I can do things for the long term. I mean, when it came to fitness, even, I wish I knew then what I knew now after completely destroying my knees. And I was a workout fanatic. And if I knew then not to do plyometrics 5-6 days a week, just
You were
because
doing them 5 or 6 days a week.
I loved it. I was like, I love jumping and bouncing. And I started aerobics when it was called aerobics. And did you know I was a fitness instructor way back in the day?
I don't know. I don't
Way
think
back
I knew you did
in
that.
the day. I was in college. I
I
played
could see
sports.
you. I could definitely see you doing it.
Oh yeah. And could you picture it in shiny thong leotards? Because that was that old school days.
Totally.
When that
They're
was
pink
like
your glasses.
Oh yes.
Like
yes.
shiny
And then like
pink.
the fuzzy, I mean, it was like post Jane Fonda, but before like more modern fitness. So I used to take all the high-low classes. I loved high-low. And I remember I got certified to teach spin cycling, indoor cycling, when it first came out. Our training manuals literally said for cycling classes, we don't recommend wearing thong leotards because you're sitting on a bike. That would be very uncomfortable. It literally says that in the training manual. It's hilarious.
Wow.
So way back then I love fitness, and it was so much, like for my mental health. If I was in a bad mood, my boyfriend, now husband at the time, would be like, get to the gym and then come back.
So
because
Tiffany,
you come back a different person.
Can we dive into this a little bit? Because this is such a common thing. I hear all the time from my students and my clients that are like, I just have to go for a run. I just have to do this really, I have to be working up a sweat. I have to be getting a kick butt workout in order for it to be doing anything for my body.
Yeah.
But the reality is it's causing more dysfunction because they're experiencing incontinence or pain or whatever it is. In my whole, everything I always preach is like, if you have pain or you're peeing your pants or whatever it is when you're doing your workout, that is your body. Well, sometimes it's a whisper and then it just gets louder and louder, but it starts as a whisper. So can we kind of break down what was your thought process and working through that? Because I know so many women struggle with this exact thing because this comes up all the time.
Yeah, for me, it was just a do more, do more, do more. You're not doing enough to get the results that you want. But I was also addicted to the high. And I because I got so addicted to that euphoric high that we love when it comes to fitness, especially cardio, that until I started to understand doing that amount of cardio doesn't have the health benefits. It actually has far more detriments. It's that education that I did not have, even as someone in the late 80s and 90s was jumping around crazy doing that. It's that euphoric high. And then just like a drug, illegal or self-created, then you crash and you need that high every time. So I had to find different ways that didn't give me that hard high and then that horrible crash. And then all of the physical ways that manifest with overtraining and
Because
just
did you have,
pushing
because I know
yourself.
you said your knee, right? So
Oh yeah,
did you
the
have other
terrible left knee.
pains and stuff? Yeah.
Everything. Like
Yeah.
if I would, there was mobility did not exist back then. It didn't even exist. Like that word is so much more popular today, which is a great thing. But we never talked about mobility or longevity. It was just like, how many miles can you run? And can you run hills? And can you do plyometrics? And let's not train smarter and balance, even though I know it's not always about balance, but having some kind of a different way of training different types of modalities and knowing that it's not just cardio. Still to this day, it's my biggest struggle. I'm the cardio queen. I love cardio, but it doesn't benefit me the way that other workouts do. If I just, added, sprinkle them in here and there just to create more balance, but I'm completely, it's like a seesaw, right? We're just trying to you're going to have ebbs and flows, but yeah, it's that for me, it's that euphoric hit. I also realized I get that in my life, in my business. If you believe in, what is it? The 4 love languages, the 5 language. I don't know how many there are, but I know for me, it's words of affirmation. So I don't know how many there are, but I love words of affirmation. And it makes sense because my whole life, I got that dopamine hit when somebody would compliment my work or how hard I worked, or I was the A+ student my whole life, that would give me that high. And so I got it in different ways, and it just breaks down your body. And it's no wonder in my, older age that I reflect back.
You're not in an older age. Oh my gosh.
Right. Getting older and wiser though. Reflecting back, like that played such a massive role. And it's especially hard when you actually like doing certain workouts or eating a certain way and not, having a well-rounded diet. And there were times where I lived on energy drinks and bars. But we've gotten so much smarter. Oh my God, that played, it's like 20 years of slow wreaking havoc on my entire body.
Those energy drinks are some of the worst things for people.
They were,
which FYI, anyone listening, I see teenagers drinking those, and I'm like,
still to this day,
no, what are we doing? No, yes.
Oh my gosh.
And they were so much, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, why
rock stars? I was like, oh, get the diet rock star, the sugar-free one, because that's terrible. So let's just put fake sugar. I didn't know. I grew up in the Diet Cokes and then Splenda and then, diet sugar-free, all of the drinks. I don't want to throw them under the bus, but we should. It's just
we can throw them under the bus here, Tiffany. We can throw them under the bus here.
The chemicals. I didn't know. I did not know. I literally in college, I got through by eating. I don't even know what I ate, but I drank a whole lot of Diet Coke, lived on it.
Well, as the best we can do is we live and we learn from it, right? And that's why we have these conversations. Okay, so you talked about sleep a little bit, and I know this is this is something that personally for me, I would say if I looked at all of my health things, is probably where I sucked the most because I'm a creative and I such a night owl. And that was when my creativity would hit me. And so when I lived in California and when I was creating all my stuff, right? I'd put the kids to bed. My husband was a fireman. So if he was working, I'm like, second wind, I'm going to go on this and just work. And I would work till midnight, 1, 2 a.m. I don't know. I look back. I don't know how the heck I did that. No wonder I had health issues at some point. But it was something that for me in 2018, when I had my major health thing was when I was sleep became my absolute number one non-negotiable. And I will personally say that since I have started making that non-negotiable, when I really get off of my sleep, which I did last weekend, which is never good for me because I traveled time zones, altitude, the whole thing. It was, whatever, kind of really screwed with me. I'm like, oh my gosh, is that just getting older? Or is it just because I've really fine-tuned my sleep that when we do get off now, it's like, man, you really notice. But anyway,
you pay attention to the whispers now.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing, right? We become more in tune with our body. And so we look I like to always look at everything as okay, this is my reminder that, maybe next time I travel, I shouldn't stay up till midnight Pacific time, which is 2 a.m. my time. And I'm used to going to bed
Right.
at 10 p.m. my time. Like that's a 4-hour difference. So anyway, really hard to do though. Peer pressure. Oh, anyway. So Tiffany, back to you. I want you to share with everybody, like, what are some of your tips or what are some of the things you did that
Mm.
helps you prioritize your sleep? Because this is something I know so many women struggle with finding
Mhm.
that consistent sleep schedule because either they're a night owl or I have a lot of moms who are like, I get the kids to bed and I just need my time. But
Mhm.
at the same time, I know you're not a mom, but I know you can speak to the just prioritizing sleep. It is so stinking important and it should be number one on everyone's list.
But it's usually the first thing to go, right?
It is.
It is a matter of priorities. And I think that when I really understood what I was saying yes to and what I was saying no to, because every yes is a no to something else.
Ooh,
Sorry, I
say
had a
that.
cough.
No, it's okay. I want to, okay.
Mhm.
I think that should be like the statement of this entire conversation. Say that again, because I've
Yeah.
heard you say it, and I just think it is, before I just think that it is. It's something that goes through my head a lot. Every time we're saying
Mm.
yes to something, we're saying no to something else. And I'm a people pleaser, and so many women listening are. We're like, we want to help everybody, we want to do all the things, but ultimately, it can come back to kind of bite us in the what.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. The whole airplane, if it's going down, put your mask on, oxygen mask first so you can help other people. But we're going down all the time on our imaginary airplane, and it's like we have to save ourselves before we can help other people. And it's a daily work in progress. It's something. I am not the perfect example of any of that, but also it's also embracing that, yeah, you're going to have times where you travel and it's okay to get off your schedule as long as you recognize how it makes you feel, enjoy it, and then come back and get right back into it. I do love routine. Routine has really helped me because most of my life I didn't have a solid routine working in my business offline. It was just so unpredictable. I was either employed or unemployed as a freelancer working in film. And it's kind of like a carnival life, we would call each other, because you would work on a gig and then you would be done. And sometimes it's a long running television show, but even that's only like 2.5, 3 months of shooting. And then you'd have all this downtime. So it was these ebbs and flows and then not a lot of space to create routine because the second you create it, you would break it. And so letting go of that all or nothing mentality, embracing doing the best that you can in the present moment and giving yourself the grace that that is great. That is good enough and more than enough for right now, and enjoying the process and making it up for later. But one of the things that I do now to make sure that I get to sleep, it's discipline. I have an end of the day routine. I never had an end of the day routine. We hear so much about morning routines and success mindset and what successful people do the second they wake up, and don't grab your phone. And most of us are probably grabbing our phones before we even get up to go pee. That's the reality. But we don't talk enough about what we do at the end of the day.
Okay, Tiffany, I'm going to stop you right there because you are the only other person that I have ever heard besides myself talk
Yeah.
about the nighttime routine. I'm like, you guys, we cannot have a
Ah,
successful morning
game
routine
changer.
without a nighttime routine. Oh, high
Mhm.
five.
Yes, because it is something that I started working on just like in the last 3 years, maybe. And it's because, especially for all of the moms and creatives and instructors and people who are like, oh, this song and this routine, and your mind can't shut off. It can shut off. You're just not practicing how to create the discipline, just like any other exercise or new modality that you're learning. It's a discipline and a practice. So I created the practice of having an end of the day ritual, just the way that I've always been trying to work on improving my morning ritual. But the end of the day is the game changer because it
Yes.
helps you to shut off your brain And I no longer wake up in the middle of the night with post-it notes. I have post-it notes everywhere. I have voice message notes to myself. I even have something called shower notes that stick to my shower wall. And because you get so many great ideas in the shower while you're washing your hair for a very good reason. You're in there because you're not, with your in your hand is the only time your phone's not in your hand. And so not having the digital devices in front of you, it's no wonder that our creativity is sparked there. So I create other places around me during the daytime work hours. I had to create boundaries with myself. I was the worst one that violated my own boundaries with working anytime, all the time. And I tell, all of my students and people I coach, we are not 7-Eleven. As moms, you're kind of 7-Eleven open 24 hours, 365 days a year. But even then, you got to create those boundaries. So I create places where I can let go and release my creativity during the daytime the best that I can. And then my nighttime routine simply is saying a mantra to myself. You're just done for the day, done for the day, done for the day. I literally close my laptop. I put it away. I'm done for the day. And that means when I'm done and I put all the things that are I know trigger me as distractions to continue working or creating or keeping my brain stimulated. If I get those things out of my sight, out of the room that I'm in, I won't be tempted to reopen my laptop or my phone. I will shut down all my apps. When I'm doing very important things that are true priorities, I will delete the apps temporarily off my phone. I never have notifications on. As someone who does digital marketing and it has a social media brand, I have to actually create even more boundaries around those things and protect my passion by not being in it all the time, especially with the notifications. So all of those things really help me to be able to, I need a lot of wind down. It's like the ramp up for the day, but I also need a wind down for the day. And I don't mean wine with wine. I mean, winding down. I'm not a wine drinker. I have found other ways to relax. And that could be reading a book or journaling literally for 3 minutes, maybe 3 questions, just the things that you're grateful for that went well, and going to bed at night, knowing that you took everything out of your brain and brain dumping. You know how huge I am about brain dumping. The more we can get our thoughts and ideas and creativity out of our heads where it's spinning around and keeping us awake and stimulated when we shouldn't be, and then recording it on pen to paper, there's so much psychology and neuroscience as to why that is so effective. You'll sleep better. You'll be able to have better ideas. You'll be more rested instead of waking up in the middle of the night with the biggest epiphanies. People think that's a good thing, but that sleep interruption actually, for the rest of the day, you're going to feel it. So get into the practice of simple things like making sure you create a to-do list in the daytime and then reviewing the to-do list at the end of the day. I like to create my to-do list and I never have more than 5 things on that list. These are all like the little habits I've learned the hard way. And I create them the night before. That way I go to sleep knowing I took care of business and I'm not thinking of all those things that I needed to do. So if you've got that, your kids, all the different schedules for all their different activities and all the places you need to be, you will literally calm your nervous system down by writing it down or however you do it, your calendar system, but have some kind of simple system where you can take care of that the night before so that you can get restful sleep that night.
So many good things. I do so many of those things. Not perfectly. It's always a work in progress.
Me neither.
Right?
Yes.
I think that's a big thing too, to remind everyone is that it's not about perfection, right? There might be a night where you watch TV, but you try not to most nights, right? Nights where you try to put boundaries around your phone, and other days you feel like you epically fail, right? It's like the whole thing of you just have to you know what? It is what it is, and we're moving on, and the next day it's a new day. But the brain dumping at night changed my life. I should have done it and doing it a lot earlier, instead of staying up those really late nights. I should have been brain dumping, but anyway, is what it is. But brain dumping is so good. I have my kids starting to do it, especially my teenager.
Oh yeah.
He is an idea person and just like so much in her head. I'm like, you've got to write it down. Even if you go to bed, I feel like, and you're just laying there with stuff, like just turn your light back on, write it down, and you will sleep so much better. And,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know. I think, is there any like, do you drink tea, or is there any like supplement routines or anything that you find like help you sleep, or do you kind of not really need to do any of that? It's more of the
I don't take
journaling and things like that.
any sleep aids at all because they are horrible for me. I will
Oh, I
feel
don't
like,
recommend like prescription sleep stuff.
oh,
Like
no,
I
no.
just am
Or
like
even
herbals or
melatonin doesn't
like
work
or any
for
of that.
me. No, I do take magnesium every night. So I do take magnesium because I have also, just like Oprah, experienced some perimenopause induced heart fluttering and palpitations that are completely benign. I've been tested multiple times on how to wear the monitoring for days and days and days. So they're benign and just happens every now and then, usually stress induced too. So
Uh-huh.
the magnesium really helps with that. And one of the reasons why, going back to my experience having the panic attack, it's like water is so essential and we don't think enough of it.
Yes.
My electrolytes were so imbalanced that what I didn't finish telling you was that was should have been the wake up call, but about 3 weeks later I ended up in the hospital in the ER and then had to spend the night for a full day because my electrolytes were so off. They had to pump so many, all the, potassium, chlorine, sodium were so low. And I was like, oh, either when they're too high or so low, this is how people die. And it feels like a heart attack.
So
So,
wait, you were that
isn't that crazy?
dehydrated.
I
You
was
were
that
that
dehydrated, but
dehydrated.
it was beyond just being dehydrated. It
Mhm.
was chronic dehydration and never feeling thirsty, like people usually say. And so I really feel like it happened for so long that I wasn't even, that is how out of tune I was with my body, that I didn't even feel thirsty. And I felt like I was drinking water or maybe coffee. There's water in coffee, right?
I mean,
Probably
okay,
coffee,
no,
which
coffee.
dehydrates you more.
For every cup of coffee you have, you need to have like 2 cups of water.
Oh, this is why I walk around with this giant thing. It doubles as a weight, and I'm constantly filling that up. Now
Yes.
I do that now, but yeah, I had to have an IV for
Oh my gosh.
almost 28 hours straight because my potassium level wouldn't get high enough. And then,
Wow,
so
girl,
now
you
I'm
are you
constantly
are
monitoring.
you are very lucky.
Okay, but look at what I was doing though. I was doing not just hot yoga, but like mega hot yoga all the time. There's nothing wrong with it if your body is not, going on a downward spiral that you didn't know. And so fitness can be a huge source of a stress on your body. It's usually a positive stress, just like a little bit of stress in your life is a good thing. It's what keeps us from jumping out into the street without looking left and right first. It's creating the awareness, but most of us have too much of it. But yeah, I was doing hot yoga, hot spin. What the heck? You know, 4 or
So
5
that's
days
also
a
what
week.
throws off. And that's something I want to interject here with from my
Yeah.
FDN practitioner knowledge here, everyone listening. If you're going to do any sauna, any hot yoga, any hot spin, you need electrolytes. You need to be drinking them. Don't guzzle
Mhm.
them. You need to like drink it throughout your day, not in the evening. I always say with my
Mhm.
clients with electrolytes, we need to stop them like 3-ish because they can keep you awake at night because it can actually help boost your energy. So a lot of
Yeah.
women that I work with when they feel like even tired, you get that middle of the day kind of slump, just
Mhm.
adding electrolytes can really help your energy. But if you're
Yeah.
doing anything hot where you're really sweating or you're just even out with like the summer here in Iowa, like we will get crazy hot temperatures where you don't have to do anything and you'll sweat buckets. Like you need to be replenishing with electrolytes. That's also what really would have thrown off your electrolytes because you were any last little
Mhm.
bit that your body was hanging on to, you were like, nope, get rid of it. Just kidding. Like,
Mhm.
so yeah, electrolytes are so important. Magnesium is so important. Yeah, it's amazing what sometimes a little good additives from a
Yes.
supplement routine can add in and really enhance our health. So,
Do you take any CBD products?
um, I have without THC. I've taken, because that's
Mhm.
what's easier to get. I do
Yeah.
recommend it because we have our, oh my God, I'm going to say the word, I might butcher it, our endocannabinoid system. right?
Uh-huh.
And so I really am of the belief that we could all benefit from
Yeah.
some CBD. And when some people that have like some severe health things, like we know even like real CBD, right,
Mm-hmm.
can be really beneficial.
Yeah.
So I think when it's used in the right way and in the right dosage, a little bit can really go a long way. I think it can be really beneficial for people. But that is something that, of course, I'm going to just put my disclaimer. You know, consult your physician,
Yes, yes, yes.
talk to your
Everyone's
doctor.
different.
Everyone is different, and there'll be the occasional person that'll tell me, I just don't like CBD. It doesn't work for me. I don't want to
Mm.
take it, and that's totally
I
fine
think that's
too.
the
But
worst thing that
like,
I've ever heard is that either people, the only bad thing I've ever heard or close to bad is that some people are like, I just don't feel any difference. And
yeah, I
that's about the
don't.
worst of it. They're like,
Yeah,
it's kind of expensive and it doesn't do anything for me. But for me, I've been taking CBD for probably 3 years, off and on, not all the time. I don't need it all the time. But when I have those heightened periods in my life where there's a lot more going on, and as a business
Mhm.
owner, you know, we have big pushes sometimes. Yes, I make sure that I have my CBD. And as of 2 weeks ago, I started exploring the CBD with THC
Do you
because
notice
it's
the
like this,
difference?
it makes me feel sleepier and a little bit more drowsy, which I don't like that effect. So
It
I
might
wear a
be too
Whoop
much.
band.
So Tiffany,
Oh
here's
yeah,
the thing. And for
mine's the
every
lowest dosage.
Oh, is it? Because I was gonna say,
Lowest.
when you
Mhm.
add, there's some thought that like you need a little bit of THC, like really minuscule amount of THC to help
Yeah.
push the CBD into the cell. Like there's that conversation that goes on.
Yeah.
So I almost probably what you're doing with it is you're actually getting a little bit higher dose of CBD
Mm,
than maybe what you were previously getting. So it's one of those things you got
yeah.
to experiment with it. Maybe maybe you get with the regular CBD, that's enough for you. I don't know. But I do
Yeah.
know with people, if you have anxiety, you feel just anxious
Mhm.
a lot, like I think CBD is amazing and everyone should try it if you've got anxiety.
Yeah.
But also knowing if you've got anxiety, I mean, I know there's stressors in life, like you got a lunch or
Right.
whatever's going on, right? That'll up your anxiety or there's just extra stress going on in life. I think CBD can be really beneficial. But I always ask everybody like, okay, when you kind of work through that, then we also have to start asking what's the root cause? What's the root
Right. We
of
don't want to just slap a
contributing?
band-aid on it.
Yes, yes. I'm all
Yeah.
for things. Sometimes we got to do things to help with symptom relief and all of that, and that's totally
Mhm.
fine. But I always encourage people because I'll tell you if you've got ongoing, especially if it's ongoing
Yeah.
things, there's always something going on. We always got to look at gut health. Like what is going on in your gut? Do you have parasites, overgrowth of bacteria, candida?
Right.
Man, those little bugs, I know it sounds disgusting, but they will really just like wreak havoc on your body, on your health, on your hormones. I always feel like hormones get a bad rap, right? They're less like everyone like blames their hormones for everything. And yes, especially as you start getting through perimenopause, and obviously when women
Mhm.
get to menopause, you have less hormones completely. But so much of that roller coaster ride that women are on is actually from our gut and from toxicity, not our
Mhm.
actual hormones themselves. They get blamed for everything, but it's
Right.
actually
Yeah, I
not.
love the CBD. The THC I'm still experimenting with here and there, which is so funny because when I was growing up, I thought I was going to be in law enforcement. So I was the good kid in college, knowing I would have to take all of these, actual interviews and lie detector tests. So I just knew that was going to be a deal breaker if I ever went that route, which I did the first couple of years out of college. And so I never took drugs of any kind. And I'm like, no, here I am in my late 40s. And it's just a gummy with the tiny bit of THC with the
Yeah.
CBD. But what I did discover that I like even better that's newer is CBG. I think it's CBG. Is it CBG? There's a different form now that gives you, it's supposed to enhance your creativity and give you a little bit more energy versus winding down. So I'll take that sometimes when I'm in, a crazy season of life.
Yeah.
But
When
it's
you
good to
need,
have those tools.
yes.
I don't abuse them. I don't use them all the time, but for anxiety specifically
It's
and the
amazing.
racing mind, just
Hmm.
plain old regular CBD has been super helpful.
Yeah. No, I fully recommend it. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just have
That's
to.
my self-care. You're rarely going to see me. I'm working on it. I got a giant bathtub and I just stare at it. And I've got the bath salts and they're just there.
They're
And I'll
just
do that every now and then. But yeah, for me, it's like just the sleep and the wind down end of the day routine has been the way that I've been able to be consistent with creating a sleep routine. And then because I'm such a Dana nerd, I love being able to track my sleep. So any of the wearables and tracking devices
What do
that
you have? I have the
evaluate,
Aura Ring. What do you have?
I have the Whoop band, which is
What's it
uh
called?
oh, you haven't heard of this? Whoop.
Like WOOP?
WHOOP. So a
No,
lot
I
of it,
haven't
I
heard of
think
it.
it came from the fitness space and a lot of like CrossFitters, but a lot of people who are into biohacking and
Mhm.
just elevating their mental, physical, and sleep and all of those things. It tracks some amazing biometrics. So it's pretty
That's cool.
sophisticated technology. Yeah, I've had it for 3 years and I love all the data and the charts because it does
I
help
don't
me.
know how I haven't heard about it then. I'm like, what? How do
Oh
I
my
not know
God,
about
it's gonna
this?
blow your mind. It evaluates so many different factors for mental
Okay.
and physical health. And it looks like a watch. It's not the most attractive thing, but I never take mine off. I've had it on for 3 years.
Wow.
So I always track it and it comes with a ton of data. And the thing that's helpful for me is not just understanding how much quality sleep I get, which it does, but it really helps me to rest more on the days that it shows that I'm in the yellow or every now and then in the red zone, like when I travel. So now I have like travel protocols. I'm a huge believer in IV therapy. I mean, that's what they did to me when I was in the hospital, but now I do IV therapy, hydration therapy with all different types of custom cocktails and things that are better absorbed through your veins
Yeah.
versus taking oral supplements. And it's expensive, but
How often do you
it's
do
far
that?
more expensive to not take care of yourself. So
Yeah. Well,
um, I don't do it as often anymore because I've been in better health.
gotcha.
Um, but I used to do it. For instance, if you are giving a huge presentation or you're getting on a flight or coming home, I would always do it before I traveled. I would make sure I did it before and after if I was traveling to anywhere in the summer where it's really humid because humidity zaps me out. I go easily into the electrolyte imbalance. Even a tiny imbalance really, really puts your body into much lower functioning just all around lower functioning. So I do it before, I do it after, I do it during my business big launches and promotions. I haven't done it that much and I probably should. So it's when you know that you're going to be I do it now more proactively to be at my peak state and to do it before I need it, before
Yeah.
we're just replenishing.
No, I love it. And we finally here where I live in
Mm-hmm.
the Midwest, we finally have IV therapy here that we don't, like have to go to a doctor for. You can just go in and get it. I'm like, thank goodness. I was so excited
Oh
when
my
I
gosh.
saw they opened IV therapy because I was like, I think that it's so important. We are just, like you
Yeah.
said, there are some nutrients we just absorb more, a little bit better
Mm-hmm.
intravenously. And even if you don't do it but once in a while, it still can be
Mm-hmm.
so beneficial and just help you to feel, a little bit better, a little bit healthier.
I've talked about it so much that even at some of the live events and conventions that I attend or speak at, they're doing it backstage.
Oh, I believe it. I can see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's such an amazing, even if you don't do the full IV, which they do, but they'll also do like the B12 shots.
Yep. Done
Oh,
that.
that makes you feel real good. And if anything, a lot of people, the same thing like CBD, they're like, well, we can't measure the benefits and this and that. But if it has even just a placebo effect, and that's how
Yeah.
powerful your mind is, heck yeah, do more things where you brainwash yourself into thinking that you feel better, that you are mentally healthier, that you are happier. I'm all for that. And so if that gives me more energy without like, putting a band-aid on needing more sleep. That we're not talking about that. But
Right.
I think the placebo effect, especially with supplements, I literally sometimes even say a small little quiet prayer to myself that the supplement is going to help me become better and healthier and more whatever I need. The same way that people do that when they pray over their food or when they cook, putting that positive energy into feeding their family with wholesome foods. Like bless your supplements and your foods. It's not going to hurt you.
No, I preach the same thing, Tiffany. I think it's amazing because it's like whatever you're putting into your body, like have it work to its highest potential because
Mm-hmm.
well, why not? And the
Yeah.
placebo effect is real. There's a whole book.
Oh,
Dr.
so much.
You're a Joe Dispenza fan, right? You're a Dr. Joe
Yes,
Dispenza fan.
yes.
So
Uh-huh.
he has a book called The Placebo Effect. It's not an easy
Mhm.
read. I'm not gonna lie. It's not something when I'm like, guys, go out and read it. If you're really interested in it, I highly recommend
Mhm.
it. It's one for me, like I go through it and I'm like, I reread it and I'm like, I have all these light bulb moments. I'm like, oh my God, this is so freaking amazing. Oh my good. Like
Yeah.
I love it. I love that book. It's so good, but it is so truthful. It's like, who cares? If it makes you feel better and it's
Mhm.
something that's moving you in a healthier direction, then keep doing it. You know what I
I'm
mean?
all for
So
it.
I think that's great. Okay, so Tiffany, oh my gosh, we probably should like wrap up. We'll just keep talking.
There's
So
so many topics that we could talk about, like reinventing yourself and going after the things like whatever makes your heart do backflips. There's so much to that that really plays into our physical and mental health as well. Like, what are we doing with the vast majority of our lives in the jobs that we hate or not creating the thing that you've been dreaming about? I love that topic too. So maybe if your fans and your listeners were interested in that, maybe Erica will invite me back for more conversations. You guys let us know what you like and
yes,
what you want more of.
let us know. I would love to have a whole deep hour conversation on that. But
Yeah.
yeah, we could just keep going. So Tiffany is amazing. I just want to say this. I've known Tiffany now for well over a decade. And she has transitioned and doing, I know she's kind of mentioned it here and there, but she does, you know, teaches all of us how to be better on video and online. And it's amazing, Tiffany. I love everything that you do. And I just want her to share with all of you listening, whether you are a current entrepreneur, you have an online business or you don't, or you're a fitness professional, or you're like, I'm really intrigued to learn more. Maybe you have that creative desire inside you where you're like, could I start a little side gig? I've always wanted to do this
Mm.
or that or whatever it is. Like Tiffany is amazing with everything that she does. I love her on personal side, but also professional side as well. So I want you to just share with everyone listening, Tiffany, really what it is you do with your lights, camera branding and all of that and what you have coming up for everybody.
So I had an offline business for most of my adult life, and then I became an online accidental online entrepreneur because of something that was just a hobby that I did for fun. And at the time, I no longer am, but at the time I was doing makeup and production and discovered how much I loved being on video when someone forced me to do a live video. And so that changed my life. I love personal development, reading personal development books and spirituality books and all of those things. And the things that I loved that I was doing anyways, it turned out that that is what created it was the jumping off point for what turned into this whole new life, completely different identity. I call it my, Cher and Madonna get to have their, transformation tours and they're always doing different things and reinventing themselves. The rest of us can too. And it's never too late to discover what your passions are and what you want to do. So I am the biggest introvert. Erica knows this in real life. I'm a massive introvert, but I know that inside of us, we blossom when we tap into the things that we love, the things that fuel us. And I think part of our drive for being human beings is always to search for those things. How can we help other people? How can I do things that I love? And as we get older, that inner knowing often gets pushed down. And so I didn't even start this online business until I had the health scares and I needed to create a different life that I didn't have to work, outside of the home. I'm in my home in yoga pants, whether I do yoga or not, or Pilates. And I get to just stay here, which for me, I was like, I love this. I love this. It works for me. And so creating that lifestyle that was aligned to what I needed, I always recommend to everybody should have a side gig. Everybody should have at least one side gig that you would do, whether you were paid for it or not. And starting it that way without this like white knuckle grip of I have to make money with this. It actually, the funny thing is that it turns into the business oftentimes. And so I love helping people, creatives, and I love the fitness space because I've worked in that space for so long behind the scenes, and just helping people discover or rediscover what that inner passion and knowing is, and doing it on video, because video is so scary for most people. And I attract people who were just like me a few years ago, massive introverts who hid behind the scenes, worked behind the camera. Erica was in front of the camera. I was behind the camera. That is where I spent most of my life. And it wasn't until I was 40 years old that I discovered all of this, all these new things, and reinvented myself to create a business beyond my dreams and what I ever hoped for, and to be able to help other people do the exact same thing. It's so simple, just to find your voice, discover that thing that you don't even know is inside of you. And to be able to do that on social media with video in particular is a game changer for so many people who never thought that they would be doing what they're doing. And that's the thing that I get to help them uncover.
It's so fun. And I see so much growth in people who, the whole video thing, I know it's scary for so many
It is
people.
so scary
I've
at
been
the start.
doing it for so long, but then I see potential in people. I'm always like, I'm like, I
Yes.
think we see so much potential in people that it's like, that's why I love what you do, because you just the way you teach and everything, you make it so like approachable and
Simple baby
doable
steps.
and simple. We
Mhm.
got to keep our life as simple as possible.
Yes. And that's what I love is like right now, if we learned nothing the last 2 years of all the experiences that we've been going through globally, we don't want to put all of our eggs in one basket, whether it's because of a global crisis or our own internal health crisis, that there are so many things that you can set yourself up for success, and not put all of your resources or your income into one thing. And then what that can open up for you, in the creative side of your life, if you haven't tapped into that for a long time, doesn't always have to be a business. But it's funny how so many people start off with a hobby they love and they become accidental entrepreneurs as well.
Yeah, that's always the best. So, Tiffany, let everyone know where they can find out more if they want to have questions for you. And you
Yes, yes.
guys, I know you have a series coming up that you're doing. Well, it'll be next week when this goes live. And then I will put the link below as well. So anyone
Mhm.
listening, you can find all the information below. But talk more about your video series that you're launching.
So once or twice a year, we do a free training experience. It's across 3 different days. And then there's a lot of connecting, and we create a temporary pop-up group on Facebook so that we can get to know each other and just talk about like what it is that you're building with your dream, or what you want to do with your business if you have one. And so we invite creatives and people who just want to get better on videos, specifically with live video, because live video is the thing that is the lowest barrier of entry of all the different types of video. And there's so many types and so many platforms, but we simplify that process. And a lot of people don't realize that you can tap into that entire world of videos, whether it's YouTube like you have, and Reels, or even doing podcast interviews like this, or master classes. I have clients that just went live with Oprah the other day this week. And so it's this hybrid world where the virtual and the in-person, there's so many opportunities for growth, for business, for so many ways to connect. And so I get to do this next week, and it's 3 live trainings talking about the opportunities to grow your brand or develop one, and a business whether you have an offline business like I did and you want to bring it online, there's so many avenues that a lot of people don't realize. And live video is the easiest way to get into that space. So that's what I've been doing. That's how I got started. That's what you and I do. And it's just one of many ways that we're able to build our audience and impact more lives. So it's called Live Video Impact. Erica is going to have the information for you in the show notes as well. And as far as like where you can find me, I go by Coach Glitter everywhere online. Isn't that funny? I don't even think I introduced myself. I just started talking because I just wanted to dive in. But
I'll do an intro for you.
Oh, good. Okay. I go by Coach Glitter everywhere. Super easy to find me. My website is Coach Glitter. I have tons of free resources, lots of business things, as well as still like lifestyle. And sometimes every now and then I still do some fashion and beauty tips, really for camera. I'm such a nerd when it comes to like lighting but simple things, even for the Oprah interview, the Oprah masterclass, we didn't use anything fancy. We just used the camera on a laptop, not even a webcam. You don't need all those fancy, complicated things to be able to even do an Oprah masterclass. Like how fun is that? It's available for everyone.
That's amazing. I will say things have simplified over the years. When I look back at how I used to do video versus now, oh my gosh, it's 100 times easier now. And it's a lot cheaper now than it was 10-ish years ago when I was starting to do video. So, I mean, it's amazing. And Tiffany, I love everything that you're doing, you're teaching. And thank you so much for sharing so much of your story and your health journey. And I love all your tips of wisdom. I think it's so important. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited. Don't wait another 10 plus years to invite me back.
Oh, we won't.